Aloha everybody, and welcome to Doing Hawaii's live stream of the Hurricane Douglas update. I've just been waiting for the 2 p.m. Advisory to come out, which it has come out. So it looks like everybody is here, so aloha and welcome. I see David Zenz, you just bought one of the petroglyph face masks off my Teespring. I do have 3 styles available on Teespring, but the majority of them are on the Redbubble. Links, of course, will all be in the description. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Okay, Hurricane Douglas is currently a Category 2, and this is what the current satellite images look like. So what I want to do first is we're going to go and take a look at the actual advisory. Currently the location is at 19.7 north and 150.7 west. It's about 280 miles or 450 kilometers for everyone else east of Hilo, Hawaii. It's about 475 miles or 780 kilometers east-southeast of Honolulu. Maximum sustained winds are 90 miles an hour, which is a drop from 100 and I believe it was 15 for the 5 p.m. advisory yesterday evening. And of course today we've had a bunch of watches and warnings go into effect. Aloha, Kristen. Welcome to the community. So anyways, watches and warning changes with the advisory has been basically none, but a summary of the watches and warnings in effect are currently a hurricane warning, not a watch, but a warning is in effect for Oahu, and a tropical storm warning is in effect for, of course, Hawaii County, Maui County, including the islands of Maui, Lanai, Molokai, and this last one right here, you see right here, I do not know how to pronounce that one, so I'm not even going to try, but it's right there for those that may be there. Hurricane watch is in effect, of course, for Hawaii County, Maui County, including the islands of Maui, Lanai, Molokai, and of course that other one. Moving on, we see tropical storm watch is for in effect for Kauai, including the islands of Kauai and Ni'ihu. Hurricane warning basically means that hurricane conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area within 36 hours, while a tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area within 36 hours. And a hurricane watch means that hurricane conditions are possible within the watch area, in this case within the next 36 hours. Tropical storm watch basically is the same thing, in this case 36 to 48 hours. And I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Just had to make a technical adjustment real quick. Redondo, Rita, mahalo for that $5 super chat. I really do appreciate that. And of course, aloha to everybody else that's joined. I'm not able to take a look at the live chat just yet. We'll get into questions and answers and discussions after we get over the report and look at some of the radar. So if you have questions, think about them, keep them going, and I'll let you know when I'm ready for that. So anyways, people in the main Hawaiian Islands need to prepare for the storm, especially those on Maui, Oahu, Kauai, and those north of the main Hawaii Island. Looks like the Big Island may be spared the brunt of this. But let's get into the discussion and outlook. At 2 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, the eye of Hurricane Douglas was located near latitude 19.7 north and longitude 150.7 west. Douglas is moving towards the west-northwest near 16 miles an hour, which is actually 2 miles an hour slower than it was at 5 p.m. yesterday evening. This motion is expected to continue through the next couple of days with a slight decrease in the forward speed today. On the forecast track, Douglas will be near the main Hawaiian Islands late tonight, Saturday night, and is expected to move over parts of the state Sunday and Monday. Currently, the maximum sustained winds are near 90 miles an hour with higher gust. This puts it at a Category 2 level. Gradual weakening is expected to continue through the weekend. However, Douglas is still forecasted to be near hurricane strength when it basically gets near the islands. And if you heard that little notification noise in the background, that was of course my phone telling me I have a email. So let me silence that real quick so we are not interrupted again. Okay, so so yes, hurricane force winds are extending outward up to about 35 miles an hour, 55 kilometers from the center of circulation, and tropical storm force winds, of course, are extending outward up to 115 miles or 185 kilometers from the center of circulation, while the estimated minimum central pressure is 982 millibars or 29.0 inches. Now, in last night's 5 p.m. advisory, in the second part, I talked about what controls hurricanes' movements, the intensity, and things of that nature. So if you want to learn some more about that, check out last night's video. It's about, that discussion starts about maybe 3.5 minutes in. But the reason why I bring this up is because of the central pressure. One thing I forgot to mention in that video last night was that the central air pressure of a storm tells us relatively the strength of the wind speeds in the storm and organizes. In this case, a lower air pressure or lower numbers in millibars means the storm is intensifying, strengthening, and becoming more organized. If we see this central pressure start to go up, that means the storm is starting to lose steam. It's also starting to lose some of its organization. And I do believe that the millibars is up a little bit over last night. I don't remember exactly what that number was. So some of the hazards that are affecting the land that can be expected during this event, dealing with wind, hurricane conditions are expected on Oahu and Sunday, on Sunday and Sunday night, and are possible across Maui County and the Big Island late tonight and Sunday. Tropical storm conditions are expected across Hawaii County and Maui County beginning late tonight or Sunday, while tropical storm conditions are possible across Kauai County late Sunday. As for the surf, which I think is some of the biggest dangers right now, the winds and the rains hasn't quite got here, but the surf and the swells have. So large swells generated by Douglas are expected to affect the Hawaiian Islands during the next couple days, and storm surge of 2 to 4 feet above normal tides is expected near the center of Douglas. The large swells and surge will produce life-threatening and potentially destructive surf along exposed shores. So if you plan on going out around to the ocean and the shorelines, please be very, very careful. Rainfall, which is expected to be heavy, is going to be associated with Douglas and is expected to affect portions of the main Hawaiian Islands from late tonight through, which is late Saturday night, through Monday. Total rain accumulations of 5 to 10 inches are possible from Maui County westward to Kauai County, with the greatest amounts in elevated terrain. This rain may result in life-threatening flash floods and landslides, as well as rapid water level rises on small streams. Douglas is expected to produce 2 to 5 inches of rainfall over the northern half of the Big Island. So that pretty much does it for the advisory. Not a lot has changed other than the storm has weakened from a Category 3 down to a Category 2. Winds are down to about 90 miles an hour, max sustained. Central pressure has risen a couple points, I do believe, and it is still moving in that west-northwest pattern. So let's go take a look at the storm real quick. There's actually an image I want to show you. So let me pull it up here real quick because this is very interesting. Last night in the update, I talked about how land masses would affect the movement of the storm, and how if the storm came in kind of on the northerly side of the Big Island could act as a deflector and push it further north, while if it came in on the southern side, the island would push it a little bit further south. And here's a great example. If you look at this image, there in the middle you see the Big Island, and you see that there on the northeast coastline, the Hamakua coast and Hilo coast, you see that line of clouds with the little dip there in the middle. That dip actually is Mauna Kea, the volcano mountain that has all the telescopes and observatories on top. This is what I was saying in last night's video, how the landmass of the Big Island could affect the storm. We're seeing those first outer bands of the storm just now starting to reach the Big Island. which is why we're getting the windy gust and stuff that you were seeing over on Scott's channel. But those clouds, as they come in and that wind comes in, they slap into the slopes of that mountain, and the mountain literally splits it, which disrupts it, takes a lot of the energy out of it, etc. But you see how those clouds are curling around the mountain. So that means that the central, not the central, but the outer circulation of the storm is now engaging with the landmass of the Hawaiian Island. So this may give it a slight little nudge to the north, but I don't think it'd be anything of any significance. But the latitude that the storm is currently at, associated with the latitude of the Big Island, I do believe says that the Big Island is pretty much out of the danger zone at this point. But as with any hurricane, and from what I've learned while living in Florida about these things, because I witnessed 2 or 3 a year easily, some years even more, and I've watched them very carefully. I've studied the maps. I've learned about the weather phenomena, the meteorology, how these storms work. And over the last 5, 10 years, or even maybe the last 20 years, we've learned so much about hurricanes and how they actually do what they do, and they're very good at energy conversion, and that's basically what they are. They're a heat conversion system. They literally take heat out of the oceans and turn it into weather phenomena. In this case, wind energy, rain energy, etc. So they're literally heat converters. That's why with hotter ocean temperatures, we get stronger storms. So dealing with the current rise in average sea temperatures is why the scientists predict more and more intense hurricane seasons as we go along. So I thought this picture was very, very cool, showing the clouds there hitting the mountain. So let's go on and take a look at some of the radar images. So what we're looking at here is what's called the floater satellite. This is the satellite they have dedicated to the storm right now, which actually follows it along from the top viewport, or top view perspective. What we're looking here is, or what we're looking at here, yeah, I'm getting a little tongue-tied, sorry about that, is the geocolor. It's a true color for daytime, but then it shifts to a multispectral infrared at night. We would see that in a bigger loop. So let me go ahead and load a bigger loop. I'm going to go to the highest here, which is 240 images, because I want to show you the progression of the storm, because it's very important. In this image here, you see that the center eye right there. That central eye is what I like to look at when determining whether a storm is gaining or losing strength. So as a storm intensifies and organizes, that eye becomes very distinct, very open, and very calm, which is why the eye of the storm is always calm. There's no wind, no rain, etc. So as you see in the early satellite, that the eye forms. That's as it was category or jumping up to a category 4 hurricane, and then as that eye wall begins to dissipate and break down, it dropped down to a category 3, and now we can barely see the eye in the storm there at the end of the loop, which is why we're now down at category 2. So the question is, though, why is the strength of the storm dropping? Well, the reason for that is relatively simple. It is water temperatures. So let me see if I can find my temperature chart. Surface, air, there it is. This is not quite the one I was wanting. I was wanting the one with the color bands. Let me see if I can find that one real quick. I thought it was right here. Huh. It's missing. They must be updating it. Well, anyways, we'll go ahead and use this one because it tells us what we need to know. Okay, the lines you see here are your dividing lines between temperature zones. This is measured in Celsius. So we look here at this zone here, it's 28 degrees Celsius. This zone right here, which the main island chain is setting in, is 27. And of course this one here is 26. Now we know the storm was down here, and that's when it was a category 4. But then it passed into this cooler zone of water, ocean water, which granted is only a degree, 1 degree Celsius difference on average, but that just shows when it comes to hurricanes, a degree can make a huge difference in the hurricane, organization and strength itself. So this is why we saw the hurricane drop from a category 4 down to 3, and now a 2 as it approaches the islands, which is what, somewhere right about here, I think now. So what we're fixing to see now is the storm is going to move over 1 degree warmer water temperature, and this water temperature was the zone down here further south where it achieved its category 4, category 3 strength. And it was moving relatively slower. I think it was like moving 14 miles an hour there, and then it moved over the colder water. It picked up speed up 18, but now that it's approaching the warmer water again, it's dropped down to 16 miles an hour. And see, and that's what I'm concerned the most about, because I know from Florida, when the hurricane slows down over warmer water, it intensifies very quickly, organizes very quickly. If it moves very fast over warmer water, then it has less time to do that, so the warmer water can't give it as much energy. Moving about 14 miles an hour or 16 miles an hour, I think is what the advisory said. It's still moving quite fast. That's actually quite fast for a hurricane. So I don't think we're going to see any intensification as it moves closer to the islands. However, I do believe that we won't see any necessarily major weakening as well. So I think as it gets here, it's probably going to be at least a category 1, maybe on the lower end. I know they're saying that it could be near hurricane strength. My experience and observation, over the last 35 years, of watching these back in Florida, and and following the science and the technology behind the study of them, my opinion differs slightly, but it's still within the same line and thinking of the National Weather Service and the other officials in charge of this. One thing that I have been looking at, actually it's back here, and I talked about this last night, and what controls the direction of hurricanes is the high pressure air systems and low pressure systems. We're looking at the Pacific Surface analysis for July 25th. And as we can see here, I know this map is probably Greek to a lot of y'all, so I will help navigate it a little bit. First of all, right here is Hurricane Douglas, and of course the Hawaiian Islands are right here. Now, these big blue H's, these are the centers of high pressure systems. High pressure systems rotate clockwise, while low pressure systems rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. These line bands that we see here, these are the pressure gradients, and as you go closer towards the center of a high pressure system, the higher the air pressure goes, and the reverse is true for low pressure systems. The closer you go to a low pressure system, the lower the pressure goes. And hurricanes are actually a low pressure system. That's why we look at the central pressure of their eye measured in millibars or inches, in order to determine whether they're strengthening and organizing or deorganizing and weakening. But anyways, it's this high pressure ridge right here that you've probably heard the National Weather Service talk about, that is acting as a block. High pressure systems prevent hurricanes from moving in that direction, while a low pressure system in the area would encourage a hurricane to move towards that direction. So you can kind of think of high pressure systems as little hills or mountains, and low pressure systems as valleys and things of that nature. And the storm, being a ball bearing, is going to want to roll away from the high pressure and roll towards a low pressure. So you can see up here we've got a low pressure system, but this high pressure ridge extends way to the west of the Hawaii Islands. And from my experience and understanding, when a hurricane starts getting into 1016 millibar, 1020 millibar areas of pressure, that's when the blocking effect of a high pressure system really starts to show the effect on a hurricane. So this hurricane, as it moves further north, is going to hit that 1016 bar, and as you've heard in the National Weather Service, they've talked about it making a turn to the west, and this is why is because it is running into this higher pressure air system north of the storm, and that's going to cause the storm to deflect to the west. If this high pressure system moves off towards the east, or it moves up north, that would change the direction of the hurricane. And in that particular scenario, moving to the east or the high pressure is moving to the north would allow the low pressure system to travel more north-northwest versus west-northwest. And if this pressure system stays where it is, or even drops to the south a little bit, that could cause the hurricane to take more of a westerly turn, which would be absolutely bad for the state of Hawaii. In my opinion, it's looking like Oahu, Kauai are the ones that are going to be most threatened at this point. Maui and Hawaii are definitely, or North Hawaii anyway, are definitely going to experience tropical force winds. Lots of nice heavy rain, nice gust, but I don't think we're going to see anything on the hurricane side, category 1 side. I expect we'll probably be getting, and this is just my opinion and total estimate, and I'm pulling literally out of nowhere, I'm expecting here where I am in Pahoa that we'll probably see wind gusts maybe up to 40, 45 miles per hour. Sustained winds maybe 20, 30, and the reason why I say this is, let me find it. It's somewhere here. Nope, wrong one. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. I'll find it here in a minute. Is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. Ah, there it is. Wind probabilities. Okay. I wish I could zoom in on this. And of course, the link don't work right. Okay, so here's the wind probabilities. This chart indicates what we can expect as a probability of tropical storm force winds. And down here you see the legend, green 5, lighter green 10, lightest green 20. These are the probabilities for hours out. Something like that. Wait, am I reading this wrong? Anyways, some point is, I lost myself. As you can see here, Hawaii is in mostly the green, and it's just the northern tip that's in the yellow. So these bands show basically ultimately the strongest winds that are going to be associated with the storm and how far out we can expect to be affected by those winds. As you can see here, the Big Island is pretty much out of the danger zone. The greens are relatively, I wouldn't say are no worse than a nice strong thunderstorm. While the yellow and the oranges, you're getting up into some really high wind speeds, and of course the reds and the purples are the hurricane force stuff. So that's why I'm saying the Big Island I don't think has got too much to worry about, but you can see Oahu and Kauai here, they're kind of like right in the line. So if this thing does make a turn to the west, they're really going to take the brunt of it. If it moves a little bit more northernly, skirts the islands, they should be okay. It's one of those things we're just going to have to wait and see for now. So that will pretty much do the show and tell portion of the stream. I do want to show y'all some other maps real quick. Another one that I like to look at is the water vapor loop, and this of course this is the lower level water vapor, and I'm wanting mid. Sorry, picked the wrong one there. I want mid-level because that's basically the water vapor around the storm, and what we're looking at here is basically the water vapor measured by the satellite radars. The orange yellows are the drier air masses, while the blues and purples and greens are the wetter air masses. More water vapor in the area. And this water vapor loop is throwing me for, well, pardon the pun, a little bit of a loop, simply because I know high pressure systems are generally associated with drier air, which is what we're looking at here, and low pressure systems are, associated with wetter air, more humid air. So if we've got this high pressure ridge over here, according to the water vapor loop, it's not there. It's shifted to the east. That would be this ridge system here. But so I'm a little confused. And I mean, of course, I'm not a professional, so I don't know for absolute certainty if I'm interpreting the data correctly. But I'm seeing a discrepancy between the air pressure maps and the water vapor loops, and they tend to coincide pretty accurately most of the time. So let's, and if we look at the lower level, which is closer to the surface, that's when we start seeing this nice drier air area. So surface to mid is where I normally look. So, but mid usually is more correlated, in my opinion. But that's that. Okay, let's see. Was there anything else that I wanted to share with y'all while I was here? Oh, I want to show y'all the cone real quick. As you can see here, the blue outlines are tropical storm warnings, while the red is hurricane warnings, and the yellow is tropical storm watches. So Kauai hasn't been put under a warning yet. Oahu is under a hurricane warning, while the rest of the state seems to be under tropical storm warnings. But you can see the cone has got the center of the storm passing over the north shores of Oahu at 8 p.m. Sunday. Of course, this can change. And I've noticed here in this cone, it's got a little bit more of a westerly track to it versus that northerly track. So we're going to have to keep watching this, and I think the 5 p.m. advisory is going to pretty much tell us for certain what the Big Island and Maui could probably expect, but I don't think it will be until probably tomorrow morning that we know what's in store for Oahu. So that will take care of that. And yeah, that pretty much does it, I guess, for the general data on the tropical or the Hurricane Douglas, which is currently a Category 2. So now we're going to move on to the question and answer portion of the stream. If anyone has any questions, now is the time to start putting them in the chat, because I haven't been reading the chat at all. I haven't been looking at it one little bit, except for there in the very beginning. So I will give y'all a few minutes to get your questions in. If you have any, I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to go through the chat a little bit and let's take a look. See if I missed anything good. I'm going to really enjoy going back and reading the chat on this one, I think. Carla C, should we stay up all night? If you're on the Big Island, Carla, nah, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're on Oahu, I don't think you got anything to worry about for tonight. But tomorrow morning, definitely keep your eye to the sky. Alex, that's a good question. Is Hawaii weather affected by the jet stream? Yes and no. Jet stream affects pretty much the weather everywhere. I know in the UK the jet stream brings a lot of that southern tropical moisture and warmer air into the UK, keeping y'all warmer than normal. And if that system, and I know that's also part of the ocean convection current that does that as well. So yeah, I mean it does, but mostly what tends to govern our weather here is the winds coming out of the northeast, the trade winds. When they come out of the northeast, we tend to have cooler, wetter, rainier weather, and when they come up out of the south, we get humid, hot, a little bit clearer. What part of the Big Island is hurricane safe usually? Well, no place is really hurricane safe that may be in a path. However, if the storm was to come in, this storm was to come in and hit the Big Island broadside there on the east point, kind of like a Zell did, the safest place on the island would be, of course, the Kona side, the west side. The mountain would shield you from a lot of the destructive winds and stuff. But if that storm was to pass over the island relatively undisrupted, then of course, you know, Kona could then of course have those effects. Or if the storm came around the south and made an easterly turn and slammed into Kona as well. So again, it all depends on what storm we're talking about. Let's see. Does the lava river get a ton of steam with these big downpours? Good question, Hisense. The lava river itself, no, but the areas around the fissure vents, yes. When we get lots of rain, they do get more steamy because if you watch the short little video I did as to why the lava river isn't filling up with water like a river, is because the lava rock is so porous, at least the fresh stuff is so porous, that the water literally runs through it like a sponge. So there's a video on my channel if you want to go watch that. So that's why the fissure vents get all steamy. Julie, good question. Does the heat from the sun change the storm? Not really, because a lot of the solar radiation and infrared energy is actually reflected by cloud tops, white cloud tops. That's why they've talked about with climate change, one of the ways that we may be able to help, you know, keep the global temperature down a degree or two would be seeding clouds, so there's more clouds to reflect the sunlight. What really governs the hurricane, mostly when it comes to strength and intensity, is ocean surface temperature. But the sun does have some. I mean, it's heating the water in front of it and stuff. So yeah, I mean, so the sun can change the storms, but not necessarily in a direct way. Stuart, that's a good question. I was wondering why hurricanes that form in the East Pacific are so much smaller. Well, I know the size and intensity again goes back to ocean surface temperatures. So basically, it's the environment, something about it. I wouldn't say they're necessarily smaller. I mean, a hurricane is a hurricane. The only difference is really which category, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Of course, the higher the category, usually the bigger the footprint of the storm. And this storm had a pretty big footprint. But these storms can actually get very large, but be very weak. Back in Florida, we had a hurricane called Hurricane Francis. And the eye was as wide as Florida was. And it was basically just barely, I think, a category 1 at the time, and but it was huge. I mean, it literally covered Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, Alabama, and Georgia all at once. So the actual size of the storm, as in, you know, its physical footprint size, isn't necessarily conducive of intensity or strength and things of that nature. But Stuart, to answer your question, I really can't say. Has something to do with environment, I would assume. In the Western Pacific, okay, and compared to the Western Pacific, okay, then that's probably going to be ocean temperatures. Because I don't know if you remember the ocean map. Let's go back to surface temperature, surface charts, surface temperature. So as you can see here in the surface chart, as we go further to the west, this band of warmer water actually travels into a higher northern latitude. So Ocean water over on the west side is warmer compared to over on the east side, relatively speaking. So that could be what's causing that effect. Why they seem to be bigger on the western versus the eastern. Okay, moving on. Linda, how are the boys during a hurricane? I don't think Goliath has experienced one. Griffin has, but they're pretty much okay. Griffin don't have a problem with the rain. Yeah, he loves the water. It's the thunder he don't like, or big booming sounds when trees come crashing and stuff like that. But I don't know. They haven't really experienced anything major yet. International Mind, Melbourne, aloha. Yeah, so if you live in Melbourne in Florida, you know hurricanes. You spent at least 2 years there, you know hurricanes for sure. Sue as asking, would the depth and temperature of the water in the Pacific make a difference in the size of hurricanes? I wouldn't necessarily say the depth of the water, but the temperature, absolutely. The warmer the water, the more energy available for organization and intensification. Of course, and the time it spends over that water as well. So there's a lot of different factors that go into the size of a hurricane. And again, it's mostly water temperature and the speed in which it's traveling over that. The faster it goes, the less time it has to do its thing. The slower it goes, the more time it has to do its thing. So it's one of those things. They're inversely proportionate. Proportional, I believe, is the term. Yeah, Julie, that actually is a very good point because the Eastern Pacific does have the cold current, which keeps the water temperatures a little cooler on this side versus the west. So yeah, again, it comes down to water temperature. See, that's the thing about hurricanes. It's water temperature, water temperature, water temperature that determines, category 1, category 2, category 3. But there are other factors. Wind shear, for example, upper level wind shear, which is something I do remember them mentioning in previous reports about this, that as it passes around or gets near the islands, they're expecting to see a little bit of wind shear. And what wind shear will do is it will literally shear the tops of the convection storms on a hurricane. It'll literally shear the tops off of them and blow all that energy just out, in a fan almost away from the storm, which actually takes energy away from the storm, causes it to lose its intensification. The eye wall begins to break down, and when the eye wall begins to break down, the storm literally is starting to fall apart. We've actually seen that quite a few times just here in Hawaii with storms coming in. They never made it near us, but they got into an area where there was upper level wind shear and it just shredded the storms. And of course, I've seen it a dozen times, if not more, on Florida storms. All right, just going back and looking at the comments again. All right, any other questions, anybody? I'll give you a few minutes to take a look at that, or to think about that, and post them in the chat section, and I'll try to answer them. In the meantime, Scott has mentioned over on his channel a few times, and I think he's even mentioned here in the chat a few times, about my red bubble. Redbubble is a place where you can get merch. You can also get some limited items off my Teespring, which will be located in the merch shelf below the video. But if you want these particular designs, you have to go over to my Redbubble. You can get there from doinghawaii.redbubble.com. Links will be in the description. And if Dana is still here, or Jan, or Scott, or whichever other mod would love to put that link in the chat, I'd appreciate it. But these are some of the designs. We currently have the hibiscus flower face mask with a black background, which has actually been very popular. So mahalo to every one of y'all out there that have purchased this one. We had a special request for a donkey trail, which I really like this one myself, and we have sold a few of those. And the person that requested it, I believe, have gotten theirs as well. Then we have the hibiscus with the pink background, and of course one of my favorites though is the petroglyph with a black background, and it also comes with a blue background and a reverse with black petroglyphs and white background, and of course the original lava face face mask. And we have some others which I haven't really talked too much about, which is the Jokerish smile, the playing card Joker face. But the newest one, the super hot lava face. This is the one that Scott showed everybody over on their other channel, or over on his channel. This one I just released yesterday. I got one of these myself and I love it. The graphic is great. It's very visually striking. So pretty much what you see here in this graphic is what you will actually get as a printed item. And let's see. Yep. And we also got an emoji mouth one here. Just some little fun graphics. But so far, the most popular ones have been the black hibiscus, or the black hibiscus, the black petroglyph, the lava face, the original lava face. People have loved that one, but I have sold some of the poker ones as well. Yeah, so that's that. So not only do I have that, I have a lot of other stuff on Redbubble which you can go through, and I have 3 new items. They're not face masks, they're not clocks, they're not photographic prints. They're 3 very special items, and they will share, but I'm not going to tell you which. They're going to share the graphic theme of one of the face masks. So yeah, look forward to that. Actually, I'll be releasing that in the next couple days. Okay, so now that I've talked about the available merch, let's go back to the comment section. Y'all have had your chance to post your comments, so if you had a question, that was your last chance. Sue, that's a good question. Do you get more hurricanes if it's an El Nino event? I actually don't know. I know a lot about hurricanes, how they work, what governs their movements, things like that. But I'm still learning what Pacific hurricanes are, because there are some differences between Pacific and Atlantic. I know in the Atlantic there's a lot of land masses that hurricanes interact with, which really changes their dynamic quite a bit. But here in the Pacific we have so much open water, it really pretty much is just a straight shot. It is very simple in the mechanics compared to Atlantic, especially when they get closer to the United States and the Caribbean and stuff of that nature. So I really don't know. I do know this: warmer water equals bigger, stronger storm. So just that, keep that rule and thumb, or that thumb a rule and a rule of thumb. I get it right, and that'll pretty much give you an idea of how strong a hurricane is going to get. Look for the temperature that it's over. Yes, Red Rover. That's a very good point. The valley between Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea can act as a wind funnel, and the wind can get very strong up there. So if a hurricane comes in at 120 miles an hour, winds at the elevation up there, because the winds are actually stronger higher in elevation when it comes to a hurricane, just pretty much as with a lot of other storms, those high winds actually will get funneled and amplified slightly through that basically Saddle Road passage, and it would be very unsafe to be on the roads up there. I've been actually through there during just regular rainstorms, and the wind gusts were so bad you literally could feel the wind picking the vehicle up off the road a little bit. Tires never left the road, but you could feel that uplift there. And I've had that experience in Florida driving on some of the bridges and stuff. Linda, Charles, do the masks have filter pockets? No, they do not. They are a polyester blend. On the back side, they're simple white. They are washable and reusable. They're non-medical grade, just to be very clear about that. They're basically just to protect you from spreading the virus if you have it and don't know it. But that's pretty much what all mask usage right now is for. Oh, Jan, so you've already got your mask? Alex, is Hawaiian weather as varied as the UK, or is it fairly consistent? It depends on the season. It's very predictable, but you can have rain showers pop up randomly. The wind blows the right way up the mountain, get some uplift. We get some condensation going, with some tropical moisture, and poof, you end up with a rainstorm. So if you've been watching Scott's, working on his lava lot and asking me about the weather, there are some days where I can tell him, yeah, rain's coming, you got so much time, but then we end up in situations where rain, little tiny rain cells develop over land, and they literally just pop up, rain themselves out, and they're done. Those are, of course, almost impossible to predict. So, yeah, I would say it is more consistent versus varied, but it can be varied as well. And of course, everywhere you're on the island has a different climate type or climate zone. So, you could be in one area where it's just pouring down rain, drive a mile or two somewhere else, and it'd be sunny, clear, and beautiful. So, yeah, that's that one. With a monstera leaf print plant. I'm not quite sure what that is, International Mind, but I will look it up and we will see. Okay, no promises, but if it's cool, absolutely. Diane, aloha, thank you for watching. David, yeah, you're very right about that one. At least Douglas doesn't have a hurricane right behind it. Usually happens. Yeah. Well, I've been watching a couple disturbances back behind it. This one you see right here that was forming, which is breaking up. I was concerned about that one for a while, but right now I think it's just a tropical wave. It still needs to be scrutinized, but you can see it's kind of taking a dive to the south, which is a good thing if it did develop. Ian, nope, don't have hurricane season shelters. Usually here on the Big Island, it's not really that necessary based on historical record. I mentioned this last night in the 5 o'clock advisory that that the Big Island in written meteorological history has not recorded a landfall of a hurricane on the Big Island until Hurricane Azelle. Which was the first one, which is kind of funny because that happened a couple years after I arrived here, and I've always joked that hurricanes follow me. Of course, I know it's not true, but it did seem that, no matter where I was in Florida, they were always coming close. And there was one year, we had 3 of them. I think it was Isaac, Francis, and I can't remember the third one, but they literally all crossed the eye. They all had a central crossing of the eye in one place in Florida, which was about 25 miles away from me at the time. We saw some damage there. My metal shop building got damaged. Some oak trees literally laid down where because we got so much rain, especially from Hurricane Francis. We got so much rain that the ground was literally soggy saturated to the point where trees couldn't hold their rooting. So big oak trees, literally, you would watch them in slow motion just lay down on the ground, and the big root ball pop up out of the dirt because they just couldn't hold themselves. Just going through the comments again. Linda, you have 6 reusable so far and want to purchase 2 of mine. Oh, mahalo. Well, you can do that if you so choose. They're great graphics. I'm sure whichever one you pick, you'll get lots of compliments on. Alex, yes, during the eruption, when the lava hit the ocean and it started boiling the ocean off in Pahoa Bay and some of the other coastal areas, that sent a lot of water vapor and steam up in the atmosphere. And when the trade winds came in, they pushed all that moisture up the slope into higher elevations over Leilani. And it all came back down as rain. And it rained for weeks and weeks, all day, all night, constantly, with that low microclimate. So there are areas on the islands that basically do the same thing. They have their own little weather systems. Kona usually is warm and dry. Puna is usually cooler and wet. Down south area, it's usually sunny and very windy. North is usually less windy with a little bit more, I would say, peaceful weather. But of course, it all varies. Charlie, that was it. Thank you, Scott from our pal. It was Francis, Charlie, and I done forgot the other one. Anyways, don't matter. Red Rover, I am a fan of a good lightning storm as well, and unfortunately we don't get a lot of those here in Hawaii compared to what I witnessed in Florida. It was my favorite thing about Florida is the lightning storms. I love lightning storms. Okay, it looks like I've answered most of all y'all's questions, and we are moving up to the 1 hour mark on this live update. So the next update from the National Weather Service will be released at 5 p.m., which is in a couple hours. So I think I may actually start doing the Hawaii Hurricane Watch reports live, since things are developing relatively rapidly now. And it is a matter of keeping an eye on this hour by hour at this point. So if you're interested in following the storm, then you might want to check back for a live stream at 5 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I do know that the 5 p.m. advisories is actually being put out about 10-15 minutes ahead of 5. So that'll give me a few minutes to prep, and we'll pretty much do the same kind of format that we did here. So I hope you like that, or liked it. I kind of enjoyed talking to y'all and sharing my knowledge of hurricanes and how they work with y'all. So between now and then, if you have questions, think about them, jot them down so you don't forget, and so you can ask them in the next live update. So of course, mahalo for watching as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I go live again. Make sure you select all notifications though on that bell icon, or you may not get a notification. Don't forget to show that like button some aloha on your way out as well, and be sure to check out our gift shop over on Redbubble. Again, you can find that at doinghawaii.redbubble.com, and of course links to all that and more will be down in the description below the video. I appreciate y'all tuning in and joining us. So until the next one, mahalo for watching, and you have an absolutely spectacular and amazingly fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening.